And we're continuing to see fallout from the SalesLoft Drift breach. This one affecting, we're finding that it was a GitHub account compromise that led to that breach initially. So SalesLoft's Drift application had its GitHub account compromised and data exported by threat actor UNC 6395, UNC 6395, but more fun to say it UNC. SalesLoft said with this access, the threat actor was able to download content from multiple repos, add a guest user, and establish workflows. 22 companies are known to have been impacted so far. SalesLoft has revoked Drift API keys and disabled the Drift application and is recommending that all third-party applications integrated with Drift via API key proactively revoke that existing key. So with a window of several months of potential activity, what are some things that folks can do now to see if their team may have been affected by this SalesLoft breach, or if a vendor that they're using has been affected by this breach?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like, are you using SalesLoft? And then the second thing is, are you using Salesforce? Because the way this breach worked was they got into SalesLoft's GitHub account, right? The Mania basically did an investigation and found that they were able to get into GitHub Actions and then pivot into running actions into their AWS cloud. They were able to get Auth0 tokens, right? So SaaS service tokens, probably integration keys and API keys from the looks of it, and then pivot on into Salesforce and other Salesforce environments. We've kind of had like a trickle of stories of people basically coming out and saying, yes, we were part of this. 22, like the list is 22 now. Those are the ones we know about. If you're using any of these services, it's always good to know like what is impacted. UNC 6395, also known as Scattered Spider, or like the group loosely associated with the COM. So these folks have a bit of a different MO than most. They'll dwell for a while, grab all the data they can. They typically go after like support portals, support data, and you'll see in a lot of these breach disclosures that they're saying like we lost customer data, right? Emails, usernames, identifiable stuff, but then also customer support chats, right? So I think the big thing here is just keep in mind like what vendors you're interfacing with that might be potentially affected by this or could be in the future, right? We're using SalesLoft or Salesforce on their back end. And then, think through what have I chatted with them? Have I sent them any HAR files that might possibly have, API keys in them or session tokens? So it's kind of this is one of those third party breach incidents where it's going to sprawl for a while, and I don't think we're going to know the full impact just because these folks are probably sitting on a lot of chat history and currently going through and looking for all sorts of juicy stuff. So
And we've had a similar conversation in the past about cert renewals. Is this an argument for time limiting API key access or shortening the time before needing to rotate or update those keys? Or is that just adding another process to keep track of without necessarily adding much in the way of functional security?
I mean, secret sprawl is going to happen. This is just something that we all have to live with. There are certain ways that you can go about mitigating it. If this were my environment, I'm not saying that it is, but if this were mine, I would definitely think about rotating those keys and coming up with policies and procedures around it to make life not hard during that. I know I personally rotate like all of my local SSH keys once about every 90 days at the most. Password managers and stuff like that, and there's enterprise tools out there too, can help with this sort of thing. Secrets are going to end up where you don't want them to end up. I think that this harkens back to a lot of like there was a recent npm, somebody was a maintainer on an npm package and got phished. Similar thing with GitHub, but that one was resolved in about, I think, 6 hours from
Yeah.
the time that he had noticed that he was compromised, and then said that, hey, if you have any of these downstream packages, you also might be affected. So I think auditing too, knowing where your secrets are being used, how they're currently being stored. And if this were me and I wasn't sure if I'm impacted by this Drift API key incident, I would just proactively reach out to all of my vendors. Just say, hey, were you affected?
Yeah, it's like there are some things you can do. In this case, the Drift API, it's just because of the nature of it, it's going to you're going to be embedding it in places that are probably less locked down, right? Less, more lower standards of SSL because you want everyone to connect, right? It's marketing data. Um, you're not going to be able to like do strict transport layer security as much for these things. You may be able on the back end to limit the API key to or integration keys to like that known vendor's domains or IP space. The mileage may vary there where it's like, I don't know, all of AWS. So there are some things you can do. I think the big lesson here is like GitHub Actions. Uh, that should be a very locked down place in your org, and the amount of people that have keys to it and the keys themselves should be scoped as limited as possible for the job that they are doing, right? It may be super easy to go. Our CI/CD platform just gets a full access key or an admin key in whatever it's deploying. But do you really need that, right? Like,
Right.
can you lower it a little bit?